say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
Hi, and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast Skeptic Studio, where we do interviews, major topics, and news related to skepticism and atheism. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Angela.
Hello.
Lisa.
Hello.
New host, Brandon.
Hello.
And our guest host, Connor.
Hello.
And, of course, the always amazing Dave doing sound.
I'll try real hard. Real hard.
We're here in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is February 2nd, 2018. Our guests tonight are Matt and Phil from the Semi Intellectual Musings podcast. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So I was just talking to Dave before the show. We normally focus on skepticism and atheism, and we have interviews with people who are in the skeptical movement. And this is our second in a row where that isn't necessarily the case. So I met you guys kind of in a roundabout way through Twitter and discovered your show that way. And you seem to be quite involved in the podcast community. I wonder, how did you start your show, and how did you get as involved in the overall Canadian podcasting community?
Matt, you want to kick us off on this one?
This one? I'll tell you the origin story of the show, and then Phil can talk about how we're engaged in the podcast community. So basically last year in, I'd say, like April, maybe in February, we got together and went to play a round of pool. I said that I had a big announcement. Phil said he had a big announcement as well. My big announcement was that I was about to be a father. So that happened in July.
Nice.
I got a 6-month-old now. Thank you. And Phil was like, I also have an announcement. I know you always wanted to start a podcast, and I just went out and bought all the equipment. So, surprise, we're starting a podcast. So
Nice.
We had to get together and kind of discuss what the podcast was even going to be about. So, yeah, and after a few planning sessions, we just sort of hit record with no kind of promotion leading into our first episode. And here we are, like 40-some-odd episodes later. So, yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the Coles notes, the clip notes. Or whatever.
Right.
How we got involved in the podcast community. I mean, we're a new show, just starting out, and never had a social media, Twitter, Facebook presence, anything like that. So we found the hashtag Podern Family.
Oh, yeah.
So we got involved with them, I guess, kind of tangentially. And then Podmosphere was another one. And just kind of like rolling with it. So following other podcasters. And I think along that journey, we connected. And I was looking to promote other Canadian podcasts. Like, all the podcasts coming out of Podmosphere, most of them and Podern Family are American or UK-based or whatever. And I just wanted, like, to have a list of Canadian podcasts, like indie podcasts. Who's out there? What are they doing? What are they talking about? Kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
Not your everyday Canuck that decides to sit behind a mic. So that was kind of interesting, like finding out, we're doing something different. There's not a lot of Canadian podcasts out there, but every day I'm finding new ones. So, maybe we're new to the game, but we're definitely found some really good friends through podcasting, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure. There's it's interesting because, like I say, we're always involved in the atheist community and the skeptical community, so that we always had that kind of thing going on. But now this there's this whole other community of podcasts that has nothing to do with that kind of mentality, that kind of thinking necessarily.
It's refreshing.
It is a little bit.
Yeah, so our podcast basically focuses on the social sciences, humanities, and arts, and we approach it really from combining the intellectual sphere with everyday life experiences. And we both come from an academic background. And I feel, and we can talk about it, but I feel like profs and universities haven't jumped on the podcast bandwagon yet. This is still a format. It's a new medium for them. So we didn't have like an organic base to appeal to right at the start. So, I mean, I don't know. We did some episodes where we talked about movies, talked about some books, talked about some more general kind of pop stuff. Try to get some listeners that way, and so far it's been pretty good.
Yeah, you guys, I don't know, from the interaction you have online, it seems like you actually have more listeners than us, and we've been we're going on 4 years now, so you're doing pretty good, it seems like.
Thanks. And Phil is like the real genius behind the Twitter. I try to pull my weight on Facebook, but I'm still learning. I took a 2-year hiatus from Facebook before we started our podcast, and so I'm sort of still learning the ropes. But it's interesting with like an atheist and skeptical podcast like your own. It's somewhat niche, right? So I mean, you're going strong, but it's tough to get like big spikes in listenership because there's just simply so few people who ascribe to either one of those ideologies, right?
Yeah. And especially because we are very social sciences friendly, that is something that attracted me to your show. That seems to be something that the skeptical community really pushes back on a lot because, I don't know why, really. Wait.
Hang on. I want to back up like 5 seconds. Is atheism an ideology? Isn't it just a lack of believing in something? Like, I don't believe in unicorns either.
Yeah,
do I have that ideology too? Like, I don't know.
It depends who you're talking
Just asking.
to.
Just being a shit disturber, guys.
If you don't believe in unicorns, then you're a realist, which is also an ideology. But that's me being an anthropologist. Like, that's the anthropological definition of an ideology. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So atheism is an ideology.
I don't know if I agree with people. I don't know. Anyways, it's all semantics. Let's move on.
Yes. It's fine.
Everything's semantics. You can't move on.
We're all screwed then.
You're the philosopher, right?
We're so fucked.
Well,
I'm a physicist. Everything is not semantics.
So you're a realist.
Radiation.
There's electrons. There's radiation. It's not semantics. You can call it something, and then it's semantics.
That's the astrophysicist talking over here. Yeah.
Correct.
So then, like, okay, can I ask you two then? To prove the existence of a proton, a neutron, and an electron, was it proved empirically through the particle accelerator in Switzerland? Was that how it was like?
No, that's old school,
there
dude.
And before,
so
like, how does that work? Like, I don't know.
Well,
let's take a derailment. I don't know.
That's how our podcast works.
Okay, so electrons. I can remember the proton. The nucleus of the atom was discovered through Rutherford's famous gold foil experiment, by which he deflected charged particles and showed that they bounced back when they hit a nucleus, like a kind of a dense area in the middle of an atom, and some of them just kind of deflected through. So he was able to show that the positive charge of an atom is densely located in only just one very tight location of an atom. So he did that partly at McGill, partly in Montreal, partly in England. So anyway, so that's one. So that would be so. I mean, okay, do we know there's a proton? Well, we have evidence to say that there are protons, and we have models to support it. And every way that we test this model seems to validate the model, but. And when somebody figures out a better model, maybe we will say, well, no, that wasn't really protons. It was really some other shit, right? Like, I mean, that's what science is. So, I mean, we know, quote, that there are protons and electrons or whatever, quarks or whatever. But once we get a better model, if we could find some evidence to disprove that, then we would change our mind, right? So.
Or in the other direction, when you find subatomic particles, and then it's just a whole new world of dimensionality to open up, right?
Like if you find...
Sorry, go ahead.
Like if you find smaller things in, say, gluons and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's string theory, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not validated empirically. But maybe what you're thinking of, they proved the existence of it, or they saw empirical evidence for at CERN was the Higgs boson. Is that maybe what you're thinking of? That was back in 2013. They announced that, and basically that's the fundamental particle that gives things mass, which is very cool. And it was theorized for a very long time by Higgs, and but it was cool because he was actually there at the when they actually announced that they had actually found it, like empirically. So it took decades to find it, and that was very, very cool work that they did.
That is pretty cool.
It is.
We take a little bit of an issue with the nickname, though.
Oh, the God particle. Oh. Every physicist hates that name. No physicist would ever call it that.
I was about to drop that on you.
Yeah. But it's stupid. I don't even understand why it would even be called the God particle. It's just the particle that gives things mass. So, I mean, photons don't have mass.
And
I know.
It's sexy, and it'll go into the media, and everybody knows the name of it now.
Is God sexy? Does anyone think of God when they're having sex? Does it make... Is there God porn?
Say that when they're having sex.
I can't imagine.
Oh, no,
that.
yeah.
It would be a very niche
I'm thinking
thing.
like a Judeo-Christian sort of...
I've heard some.
Does anyone think of a burning bush? Is that a thing? There must be burning bush porn. There must be. There must be.
It would require a lot of friction.
Is Rule 34.
Oh, let's not go into that.
Oh, that'd be so amazing. Anyways, I don't understand God particle. There's a semantics thing that physicists don't use.
That's the intersection between scientists and press. We have to call it
it's all press. There ain't no science in there. No scientist would call it that.
I just mean when they talk to the scientists saying...
it's bizarre. Like, I've spoken to the press before about my work, and it's amazing how they like twist it. And you read the article, and you're like, oh, I thought they got it, and this is not it. And like, every time, and if you're if I'm reading a layman's news article about any topic that I know a lot about in terms of science, it's almost always got errors in it, and they're not bad. Like they're well-meaning errors, but they're. Anyway, sorry guys. So podcasts in the Ottawa area. What? So awesome.
Yeah.
I love Ottawa. How's that Rideau Canal doing?
It's still frozen. Yeah,
Can you skate
like,
on it?
Oh yeah, for sure. We like Phil used to live more in the city. He's off in the mountains now, as I was mentioning before.
There's no mountains.
But yeah, I used to skate. We could skate back and forth to school.
That's so
it's
cool.
like,
that's awesome.
I would love to
do
that.
I pumped it out 16 kilometers, 22 minutes. Let's be honest.
Kidding me?
I did it.
Amazing.
I spent a summer in Ottawa as a co-op student. It was so amazing. It was just there's like kilometers and kilometers of paths.
I want to frickin' move there.
It's lovely. It's
kilometers per hour.
My best friend lives there, so it's kind of awesome. Besides Ottawa being pretty awesome.
I love Ottawa. It's a great city. When I heard you were from Ontario, I was like, oh, and I just assumed you were from Toronto or GTA, and I was like, oh, but then Ottawa, like, oh, okay, good.
Oh.
It's like you're cool. For Torontonians.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa's not a fan of Toronto.
Of Toronto? No, I hate Toronto.
There's Toronto paraphernalia all over this office.
I have family in Toronto.
Well, fuck your family. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
So nice of you.
Phil and I are, neither of us are actually from Ottawa. Eh? Like,
where do you come from originally?
I'm actually from just outside of Vancouver, so I'm a West Coast person.
Oh, nice.
And then Phil, you can tell them where you're from. Like, I don't want to disclose state secrets.
I'm from outside of Montreal, like rural Anglophone community. I'll shout it out though, like Huntington Ormstown. So if anybody knows them, those are two.
My parents are from Chateauguay. Is that close to that?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
All right. Les banlieues de Montréal. All right.
Enough of that, you two.
It's just one of them.
No, me and my friend, my peeps.
So I guess what is your guys' background? Like you're in various. You're in Gatineau and you're in Ottawa. How did you get to where you are now?
Matt.
No, sorry.
Think about it. Like, fuck. How did I get? Okay. Well, I did. So, as an academic, I like life things go through school. So I did college at John Abbott in correctional intervention. I did an undergraduate degree in criminology and public administration at University of Ottawa. and then a master's degree in sociology at Carleton University, and I'm currently a PhD candidate at Carleton in sociology. So I moved from Montreal to the Ottawa region really to do my master's degree, as boring as that could possibly sound.
Nope. No, it sounds cool. Sounds like a foolish life decision, but it sounds cool. It's questionable.
Yeah, as long as I can.
You're a fun person.
I went to grad school. I can make fun of people who make the stupid decision to go to grad school too.
Yeah,
it is allowed. We understand. It's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I don't feel like that's okay.
Being like the blue collar grunt that I am, I often envy the people that went to and got PhDs.
Me too.
Yeah, you should.
I'm
totally
not going to get a PhD.
You should totally try poverty sometime. It's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And like
I did that too. Except
the realities of it, though. The realities of it are like, even if you're doing a PhD, everybody's working on the side as well. Like, it's not like we're living like Scrooge McDuck, jumping into like mountains of coins or anything. Like, it's social science, academic research. It's not profitable.
So are you like the stereotype, like the guy who's like stripping to put himself through grad school?
Well, I got the body for it.
You got the body for it?
Absolutely.
Magic Mike the doctor.
Yeah. Dr. Mike. Dr. Magic.
Dr. Magic.
You're like, no, I grade papers. What?
I did strip for 5 years to be called Mr.
I went to grad school for 7 years to be called by my first name all the time. Like never, ever, ever.
I thought you were going to tell us you stripped to gay.
I did. I did.
I could totally see that.
Yeah. There was a physics sluts night. And that's the one
Wow.
Pardon?
Sounds delightful.
Sounds amazing.
Wait, what's this?
Sounds.
It was a way. Never mind.
Sounds unique.
The University of Victoria had a very good way for the grad students to make a living. No.
Oh, you went to UVic? Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, yeah, I know. Enough said. I know.
Oh, major burn.
Shots fired.
See,
I went to UBC. So.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Is there a rivalry between those two?
Yeah, but I don't know that UBC knows about it. UVic's like,
really?
we hate you. And UBC's like, who? Like, it's kind of like the States. And it's like Canada's like, we hate the United States. The United States is like, there's a country outside of the United States. Like,
Yeah.
That's not out of ambivalence. That's like willful ignorance.
Yeah. Same thing with UBC.
No, Canada's so small that
we're just a frozen tundra
we just
to them.
look down on ourselves, like just because everyone else
do.
is down on us.
Right.
That's right. That's why we say
Self-hate trip.
sorry so much.
It is true that when you move to Victoria.
Sorry, I didn't hear
Sorry. What?
I was,
What's happening?
There's like 5 stories in that 2-second span. Like, how
Right.
Canadian was that?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. You go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Did we overdo it? I'm sorry.
I need
Yeah,
just
just
another
tip your
3
timmies.
right there.
We have a couple listeners we have a few listeners from down in the Georgia area or Tennessee, and like they make fun of the Canadian accents and the sorries and the.
People from Georgia make fun of our accents.
Yes,
Their
they
news
do.
anchors try to emulate a Canadian accent to sound neutral.
That's true.
Well, some of them just are Canadian.
Is that true?
Yes, that's the default. Like, I mean, not like the heavy Canadian. Like if you talk like Cory, no, but like I know I got nothing. But no, but it is true. Like the Canadian accent's considered very neutral. Like not the like the Bob and Doug McKenzie one, but the one we actually use typically, minus the A's.
So what you're saying is we're the Swiss of the accents?
Oh god.
Are the Swiss new? Oh, I see. Oh, I get it. Yeah, funny. I'm
do
like,
not.
I know a guy from Switzerland. He has an accent. It's not neutral at all. I don't know. I'm very literal with what you're saying. I'm so confused.
So welcome
Phil.
to Brainstorm.
This is how we get.
That's at least 8 derailments.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
So which one of you is the anthropologist? I can't. There's an anthropologist over there.
I'm the anthropologist, Matt is, and Phil's the resident sociologist.
Sweet.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of knowledge, like of social sciences. Like I can barely discern those two disciplines. Like I'm terrible.
Like they're, I don't know. I'll like say, and then Phil, please correct me, but they're like similar in the sense, but anthropology in a nutshell studies culture and sociology studies society. But like we're used to being in like the proverbial cocktail party where you're like, oh, I study anthropology, or Phil says I study sociology. People just look at you puzzled. At least with anthropology, everybody thinks I'm either a paleontologist, so dinosaur bones, or an archaeologist of some sort. So I'm used to like trying to explain it, but it's basically like cultural beliefs and practices.
Okay.
You know, if you do
basically it.
If you do a PhD in astronomy, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Like in my research, like I studied medical anthropology, so it's
cool.
Cultural beliefs and practices around medicine.
That's
and my research
interesting.
focus was concussions with athletes.
Very cool.
And I'm a concussion survivor. I don't know. I don't really use that term, but I've had 27 concussions as well.
Whoa.
What? How did you do that? Hockey?
That's the next question everyone asks.
Football? Sports?
Yeah. There's at least 5 hockey ones in there. There's like 2 baseballs, 3 car accidents, 2 assaults, 5 falls. I banged heads with a girl in a mosh pit once. And there's a whole bunch of incidental like hitting my head on shit that I shouldn't have hit my head on.
You just have really shitty luck?
A little bit. Like I was the smallest kid in my grade, like all the way until grade 11, and then I grew a foot. So I think like I never really grew into my body in that sense.
Oh man!
So yeah, that's
a
the
lot
nutshell.
of concussions.
Yeah.
What's the record?
Yeah. I might hold it, honestly.
You might hold the record.
I usually, like, when I tell people my number, they're like, holy shit. And it's like, yeah, because you're never going to meet, like, people like myself. They're usually, off in a dark room or whatever. So,
are you going to donate your brain?
I am, actually, to Boston University. Toronto, University of Toronto has a similar program.
Okay.
But I signed up with Boston, like, 8 years ago when the guy, Chris Nowinski, he went on Larry King Live and, publicized the foundation. And I was just like, hell yeah. So they call me once a year and do like a psychometric test over the phone. And then I berate them about the fact that they don't have any qualitative studies in their program. I'm trying to angle my way into a job there for me in Philly, I think. Nice. They just do a over the phone interview. And then when I do kick it, they're going to cut my brain open and dig around in there.
For a second, I thought you were going to lead with the once-a-year courtesy call. Have you died yet? I've got my melon baller ready.
You
melon baller.
Yeah. So,
I've never seen a melon baller.
Story. So, Phil, what is sociology?
Well, we're doing it right now, Matt. It's group behavior, group dynamics. I know. I noted everyone who laughed at the fact that you had concussions, so that's interesting to me.
I'm a statistic.
I did know that you had concussions. I find it really, I don't know, interesting that you've had so many. Like listening to your guys' show, it's like I wouldn't expect you to be quite as coherent as you are.
Yeah. When the mics turn off, I'll be completely candid. Like I'm fucked for like the rest of that day and then the next day. It takes a lot out of me, but part of the reason why I do personally, on a personal note, why I do the podcast is so that I can show, brain injury survivors that there's life after brain injury, and also it's I've said it a few times, but it's a cognitive therapy for me, right? It keeps me thinking because I withdrew from my PhD program. Me and Phil were at the same university. That's how we know each other, basically. We met in when we were doing our masters. Okay. I withdrew in May of 2016, and then we started our podcast basically like April of 2017. So it's a way for me to stay engaged and keep my cognitive fitness up a little bit.
I really admire you. That's amazing. That's just.
Thank
you. Do you remember? Oh, did you see that? I'm sure you have that amazing documentary about that snowboarder whose name I can't remember. Anyways, he was going to compete against. They weren't sure if him or Shaun White were going to win the gold medal at the Olympics in Vancouver. And then, like 2 months before the Olympics, he had a terrible brain injury, and the whole documentary is about his recovery. I mean, he never fully 100% recovered, but it's an amazing documentary. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, thank you. It's and it's like it can be heart-wrenching for me to see some of those things. But I'll check it out for sure if you recommend it. Yeah.
Was that Kevin Pierce?
Yes.
And that's my better half, Phil. There, so that's around, not just his dashing good looks.
There you go.
He's more than a pretty face.
Yeah,
Nice.
just a bit.
It's via Skype. We're not.
So Phil,
influenced.
why don't you tell him like quickly like what sociology is? I feel like more people know your discipline, but you might as well give them the elevator spiel.
I mean, sociology today has really expanded from its original disciplinary boundaries. I mean, like I do science and technology studies and policy work under the banner of sociology. Okay. So my colleagues do criminological kind of research, deviance. There's a whole kind of sphere of sociology that is still very quantitative. I would say at Carleton University in the department right now, it's like 80% qualitative, 20% quantitative. But if you went to, UQAM or Université de Montréal in Montreal, it's probably like a 50-50 split. So like we look at anything, man. Like if you go on to the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, SSHRC, and you look at who's winning like funding, taxpayers' money going into sociology, and just look at the themes and the topics that is being funded, is everything from sex work and prostitution to drug use to how to develop better policy for clean water. My own research is concerned with the concept of resilience. So where did resilience come from a historical perspective? How are we mobilizing resilient policies today? And I'm looking at a case study of the Rockefeller Foundation and the 100 Resilient Cities initiative that they have since 2013. And really looking at it historically, kind of trying to figure out what do they mean by this concept of resilience and why are we so concerned with it today in infrastructure and policies around homelessness and access to food, all the way up to like earthquake prevention and how to build better houses, bridges and houses and that kind of stuff. So that's can all be looked at from a sociological perspective.
That's interesting. So
that's totally fascinating.
So what, I guess what does resilience mean in that sense?
Yeah, it's like, I think so far I've cataloged over 3,000 definitions and usages of it.
I love you, Phil.
You better start explaining them all now. We only have half an hour left.
Yeah. I think like the most common one is like the ability to bounce back after a trauma of sorts. And that's the ability of either a person and like an individual level, a group, an institution like a bank, or like a society, like a country. Okay. And you look at a trauma could be something like an earthquake. It could be something like a huge civil uprising. So this is the kind of things that they're throwing around, and by they, policy experts, other analysts, that kind of stuff. My own definition is, resilience is kind of a keyword, a key term used in like neoliberal markets that really gets at the heart of how an individual is seen as a productive worker, or should be a productive worker and a productive member of society. And it's just another coping mechanism. It's just another way to put, that old adage of pick yourself up by the bootstraps and keep on working.
Is resilience a good thing then, or?
It can be. I don't want to go either way with it. I think, if you're an at-risk youth living on the streets and you have an addiction problem, and resilience is what can help you get out of your situation that you don't want to be in. If you don't want to be in that situation, then sure, it's fine. But if I'm working 3 part-time minimum wage jobs, my precarious labor, you're going to tell me I should be resilient? Like, fuck off. Like, so yeah, I think it's really, really context dependent.
That makes sense.
What correlates with resilience?
Adaptability, adaptation, the whole kind of self-help movement as well kind of correlates with it. And then, if we see the rise of right-wing kind of neocon politics has a nice correlation there too.
Interesting.
So the term really comes about in popular use or mid-70s, early 80s, and then takes off in the United States with psychologists under Reagan in like the early 80s, mid-80s. So, draw your own conclusions to that one.
And I would say, just to tack on to that, when I was doing my PhD, resilience and vulnerability were the two concepts that I was really interested in as well. So it's kind of interesting that we were both kind of going in the same direction. And I think, like Phil, I noticed that it just started popping up in psychological and also medical texts, this idea of resilience and how we can compel patients to become more resilient and get better on their own. And I was going to argue that it's like displacing blame onto
the victim
as illness, that they are the one who is responsible for getting better. So I was going to juxtapose it with the idea of vulnerability. So just like Phil, you see it coming up a lot, and then it just depends on the context that come in. And one of the differences, therefore, between sociology and anthropology, the way society is structured. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my mic pops in and out.
Okay.
I'll just repart that. Yeah, it's been doing that a bit. But so the difference between anthropology and sociology in a sense when it comes to the concept of resilience, Phil is going to be looking at the wider social structures, government actors, policies that they put in place, and then how it affects individuals, whereas an anthropologist would typically go at the individual level and see how these ideas are impacting the individual first, and then draw conclusions about the wider culture in this sense. So
this is...
Well, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's really interesting. Like,
I was going to ask if the bad side of resilience, I never really thought of resilience as potentially having, not being a positive thing, but I'm wondering if it's sort of like repression in a way, like it's not dealing with things, it's just putting your head down and plowing through something rather than coping with it or addressing it or expressing what you're feeling or I don't know, is that?
And then maybe down the road having it come back on you.
It does sound a little bit related to the idea, the keep calm and carry on thing. Just put it in a box, put it in a box, put it in a corner, get on with your life.
Is that what you were saying or no?
So for like, Phil can talk about like the neoliberal, neocon kind of implications, but like for an individual, like someone who has studied like medical anthropology and then also someone who self-identifies as disabled with like chronic symptoms like every day. If I try to be too resilient and just sort of keep my head down, keep on, carry on sort of mentality, then being resilient is actually like damaging to me, sort of neurologically in that sense. So for an individual who is in chronic pain or who has a chronic condition, sometimes being too resilient can be physically a negative thing.
That is so interesting as a way to think about it. And, maybe our culture needs to get better at saying, I'm not okay. And it's okay to say you're not okay. It's okay if you're not okay.
Totally.
Yeah, that's something that actually...
seek accommodation and things like this,
yeah, for sure. Because unless you can recognize that you're not okay or vulnerable, as you were saying, like then you get stuck in negative actions, I guess, or you can.
Yeah. But then also when you get help and you're able to do more things, then it's actually empowering when you accept your own vulnerabilities. Right. I would argue for myself.
And you realize that everyone has vulnerabilities and everyone goes through crap.
Yeah.
Nobody's got it all together.
Some people's crap is more explosive than your own, right? So.
Stanky. That's a stanky truth.
That explosive crap, man.
So Phil, talk about this idea of resilience and neoliberalism, like more from a sociological perspective, because I think it's really interesting how you approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but I just kind of took a couple notes of what I actually want to talk about now. Someone brought up like the keep calm, carry on sort of metaphor. What I'm finding in my research is the forms of resilience that are being promoted today is the keep your head low, keep carrying on, but then also adapt. So find new ways to carry on. And it's that adaptation piece that, kind of tacks on at the end that really concerns me from a political perspective. And some authors have argued that what it does is it kind of has this political debasement from the person. So it creates this new kind of subjectivity, this new sort of being that needs to be adaptable, accommodating, with their head down, a hard worker, et cetera. And then you forget about the context and you forget about the conditions upon which we live. So don't think about the type of politics that we have. Just keep going after that job. Right. Don't think about why you're living, this material life. Just live it, right? So it's that sort of like political debasement that we can kind of almost see correlated with the reduction in actual voter turnouts. So, if you feel like you don't have a stake at the election poll, why even bother going? Most like you're probably busy taking care of your kids and going to work. So, I think from like a political perspective, there is a side of resilience that can be quite harmful if carried out to its kind of conclusion, right? So how do we get away from it is like the next question. Like, what do we do? I don't think we're going to see the term stopped anytime soon. If anything, it's going to increase in its usage. But I think it's always just to kind of keep our own ethics and morality, whatever position we take vis-a-vis ethics and morality, in check, and to say, well, sometimes things are okay, sometimes they're not. And then when they're not, to actually take a stand for it. Right. That would be my remedy to the total collapse down the rabbit hole of resilient politics.
So maybe can I ask a question of you folks, sure. Who turn to the tables like a good anthropologist would? So as Phil's talking about this idea of resilience, then we think about why aren't skeptical and critical thinking and atheist communities more popular than they are? Do you think this idea of people being politically apathetic, just disinterested, or just simply too busy, results in why they don't seek out small communities like atheists and skeptics?
Yeah, that could be part of it. I find that I guess it might be my selection bias of who I interact with, but I guess I encounter a lot of people who almost actively fight to keep everybody in the status quo, as it were. So then you have like almost the resilience thing going on, and people actively fighting against anyone who doesn't fall in line with that view of it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
That's my perspective anyway. I don't know. Because, I suppose a lot of people just don't want to spend the time to examine things, society, their own life, or they don't have the resources to, or perhaps they say they're distracted by whatever, marketing or the material life that they're looking for.
I think also a lot of people traditionally, religion is very common and it's very patriarchal and it's very gathering based. You go to this place on a Sunday or whatever and you have a bake sale and you have a strawberry social and you have all these kinds of events at a church, and the people that don't ascribe to a given religion kind of want to do the opposite of that. They want to eat bacon instead of go to church, or they want to go and have a few drinks on Christmas instead of, go to the candlelight service. And I think I've encountered people in the atheist community, people who consider themselves atheists, that don't want to go to a gathering. They don't want to hang out with anybody. They don't need a club. They're just doing their own thing, because atheism doesn't necessarily, it doesn't inform their whole lives. It's not like all of who they are. There are other things too.
That's interesting. And so, like, for those who go to like traditional sort of gatherings, something they do by tradition I mean something you do every year on an anniversary, that's almost like it becomes more like, takes a tinge of religion there, right? Because a big hallmark of organized religion are these repeatable ceremonial events, these traditions, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I meant by ideology, where, like, when you have a political perspective, but then it gets put into practice, that's what an anthropologist means by ideology. So even the atheist who chooses not to go do those ceremonial, traditional things of going to like a pub on Christmas and having a little festivus or whatever, it's that's also a practice. You're not doing that thing,
right?
And that's just as significant to an anthropologist. And
it's interesting because I've often encountered people who they are sure that they base things on facts and empirical evidence, and they absolutely don't use an ideology to live their life. And I often have to push back and say, well, but you're using that as your ideology. Like, that's...
Ideology doesn't have to mean religion.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have no ideology and, like, do not believe in the organization of anything, whether it's atheism or, like, say, socialism or whatever, then you're actually an anarchist. And that's a whole other discussion. So,
I believe that there is evidence from neuroscientists that show that we as humans tend to make decisions on gut decisions, intuitive decisions, and then we use cognitive reasoning to justify the decision we've already come to, right? You can demonstrate this in a lab, right? That with this is how we act, and it's
And that's why I have my gut surgically removed.
There you go.
Or maybe it's sociologists doing those studies. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Like a sociologist would come and say, well, like your gut is has been socially conditioned to have these sorts of actions. So you see something scary because of the media influences and because of your family upbringing, and that creates some sort of visceral gut reaction towards it. It's not your actual gut that reacts to you seeing a boogeyman, right?
Yeah, it's your socialized gut that is reacting, right?
So when I see that article in Cosmo magazine, it's to like work on my gut reactions and my gut feelings, then it's just bullshit.
Do we really want to talk about Cosmo article titles?
It's the first one I thought of. Sorry. I'm trying to keep it light.
I was thinking of our gut reaction to horror movies.
Yeah,
laughter.
But when that was like,
I said horror movies. You laugh at horror movies?
Laughter.
I suppose. Depends on the horror movie.
Sorry, what were you guys saying?
Yeah.
What were we saying? Okay. Well, to come back to it, so I just kind of I noted like our epistemological and ontological realities. So like epistemology, the system that allows us to make sense of the world, and then ontology, the things that are part of that world that we pay attention to. And I think like organized religion allows a very coherent, understandable epistemological and ontological makeup, right? The system is there. The things that we pay attention to are there. Mm-hmm. And when you start to question that, when you start to question both your ontology and your epistemology, it can become somewhat like anxiety provoking, right?
Yeah, it's earth shattering, man. It's literally your world has been shattered, right?
That's something they've grown up with for their entire lives.
I can totally attest to that.
Yeah, so like no one likes discomfort. So what do we do when we're faced with discomfort? Is you kind of turn towards something that's comforting, and that can go the other way, which is a complete adherence to all facts, or a false belief in all facts.
Or just binge watching Netflix instead of being on social media.
That too.
Fucking watching romantic comedies. Yeah. Fuck the world.
Opiate of the masses,
I do both of those things.
Karl Marx would say.
Karl Marx always binge watched romantic comedies. That's his thing.
No, he binge watched opium.
Just watch it, not consumed.
Just around the table.
But no, I think, Phil, like, you're making an interesting point there. Like, some people, when when you have a crisis of faith, you might turn to another faith, whether it's a faith in science, could be environmentalism, could be...
Damn.
Yeah, we just had a mic drop there.
Oh, sorry, man. But basically, yeah, when you have a crisis of faith, you turn to other faiths, right? And whether it's atheism or some other ideology, it, as Phil says, it is comforting, but it's also comforting because your whole earth has been shattered, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember being 16 and finding comfort in, like, being a punk rocker and going to punk shows. That was
yeah.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say something else, and I didn't really need to know that. Never mind.
Started with Pete?
Oh, God.
No.
You never really want to know what's going on.
When I was 16, I found comfort in, and I was like, I'm going to take off my headphones.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to know. I agree. Have any of you read? Okay, I'm obsessed with this book lately. The book *Sapiens*.
Heard about it.
My parents read that
I
book.
haven't read it yet.
Everyone read it.
Oh my God.
Everyone read it.
I want to
please.
read it. Yeah.
Read it. It's such a good read too.
It for months.
It's easy read. You won't hurt your brain. It's so good.
Like the trap that is the agricultural revolution.
You know, it's more so the idea is like it's like a history of all of humanity, but it's really more of an explanation of human behavior. And I just found it so elucidating the way he pointed out how many things we as humans believe in that aren't real. As an example, money, because we believe that, we all agree that money is worth something, and then, we act as though it's a real thing and it actually has real value. But in fact, it doesn't. It's only because we all agree that it does. And
yes, because you said it. You said it. You said we all agree that money has value. It's like, there you go.
I know, and so he argues that this is the strength of humanity, right? This is what differentiates us from other species on this planet, is that we have this ability as a group to all believe. I mean, religion's same thing. Or another example he uses is human rights. There's no such thing as human rights. You can't look into a quark and find that there's a real that's an actual thing. But we all agree that such a thing should exist, and so we act and we say, no, you can't do that. That's my human right. But there's no actual such thing. It's so cool. I just love it. Oh, I love that book.
And it's funny when you think about human rights that they're there, but philosophers have spent literally thousands of years trying to explain what these things are, and there's still no real clear definition of what a human right is, right?
Right.
And if you really think about it, if it's cost benefit analysis, we should all be out purging each other right now.
I would disagree. I don't think there's as much benefit from the purge style behavior.
Utilitarianism might not necessarily point in that direction.
But to enact a purge type event, you're still putting yourself at some risk of reprisal.
Mm-hmm.
If you're identified and you get away, or you could negotiate with the person, maybe get a lesser amount, but you don't put yourself at further harm.
Right. I'm currently in the process of reevaluating my perspective on morality and stuff. I used to always consider myself kind of a moral nihilist, and I had a recent discussion with a philosopher on Brainstorm, and he flat out told me I was wrong. So I'm still processing the way that we develop morals. So
I wasn't here for that one. Did you promptly call bullshit?
And no, I was like, well, explain to me why I'm wrong. So he explained it very well, but I'm not sure I understood it yet. But I'm still working.
You're gonna have to hit double download on your own podcast, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
Sorry, but the idea that things like money are a social construction, isn't new, right? From the social sciences, anyway, we've been talking about this for a long time.
It's not new. I mean, we all know this. It's not even it's a discovery. It's oh yeah, of course. That's true. There's no. But it's just thinking about how real we feel like it is, even though how we act, it's so real. I mean, no, it wasn't a shock to me. I knew that money doesn't have. You know what I mean? So cool.
But in sociology anyway, we tend to refer back to Berger and Luckman, so two authors who wrote the social construction of everything. And kind of say that it's a social construction, but it's real in its effects. So therefore, it is real.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
we can just look at like things like cryptocurrency, like currency. Like people are losing and winning tons of money, right? Yeah. And basing life decisions on something that is even less real than money. So like from a social science perspective anyway, that's really interesting to then look at how humans can organize themselves around that. So what makes it so distinct? Like a frog wouldn't create a cryptocurrency, or like a lion certainly wouldn't have the imagination to create some sort of fabricated food source and then base their kind of hierarchy around it. So what makes us so different than anyone else, than every other creature?
And so sorry, like Phil's now wading into like anthroland. So like paleoanthropologically speaking, the thing that separated us from Neanderthals is one of my favorite subjects. Like what made us different? Why are we not all Neanderthals right now? Why are we humans, right? And that gets at the point of the book that you mentioned, the Sapiens, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that separated us, and one of the most important things, was our ability to exchange. And like just quite simply, like we were able to create exchange networks that spanned hundreds of individuals, whereas Neanderthals had to remain in groups of like 20 or so. And money is just an exchange network, right? It's just something that facilitates exchange and obligation. So it's reciprocity and obligation. And there's a very famous book. It's called The Gift by Marcel Mauss, and it's like a very short little, easy to read, fun little book from the 20s, but it's all about gift giving and gift exchange and why that is actually like what separates us from the animals.
That's interesting.
So there was another thing that I read about the difference between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. It's that humans, unlike Neanderthals, had the ability to think of hypothetical situations, things that didn't exist, as if they were real, like fiction and strategy. And
I mean that's basically what Harari, who wrote *Sapiens*, says. His basic thesis is that humans are different because of our storytelling ability, whether we're telling stories about the value of money or religion or a little more literal stories, or that you can trade things, and I'm telling you the story that I'm going to give you this, and later you're going to give me something, and there's going to be an IOU sort of thing. It's all imaginary shit
and symbolism.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you also have to, like, if you extend that even further, exchange networks are based on this premise that you imagine that somebody's going to return like a wife or a good or something like that, whatever the hell they exchanged like 50,000 years ago. But there has to be a promise, a hypothetical understanding that reciprocity is going to occur. So that's actually is right in line. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't work with like, you can't tell your dog, okay, I want you to sit, and then like 3 days from now, I'll give you some bacon. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't.
Now or never.
Yeah. But it works with even kids, young kids, you can totally be like, okay, be quiet now and you can have a Kinder Surprise later. Really?
Yeah, totally. And like we're able to train dogs. We're able to train dogs based on the exact same premise. The idea that if I give them enough treats and praise, positive reinforcement, their like good behavior, in the future they will repeat this behavior without a treat.
Yeah, that's right. The whole process of training a dog is exactly that.
A dog is the same thing as money.
Dogs are money. That's what this said.
Do you know how hard it is to make change with dog exchange?
Yeah, you can't trade it in, I guess.
Well, you can. It just depends how much you value the living dog after.
Yeah, puppy coin.
Puppy coin. Nice.
I'll trade you one paw and an ear tip for that.
You people derailed this very rapidly. And I don't know about any of you.
No, it was... go ahead.
I was just going to say, with where I work, I deal with a lot of Amish
partial
people.
Dogs. Oh,
well,
half dogs, quarter dogs.
There's a bit of internal joke when you deal when we're dealing with Amish people that sometimes they want to pay with livestock. Man, we joke about how hard it is to make change out of a chicken.
That's the.
What do you do? You're working with Amish. I'm so anyway. Sorry. Derail.
Yeah, seriously, why don't you re-rail us? How do you barter with Amish people? In what capacity are you bartering with Amish people?
Farm dealer.
Oh.
I sell industrial parts, so sometimes they need them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that's literally the most logical
Yeah,
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, yeah.
It's an inherent
there's Amish people around here? Or Hutterites?
Yeah. That was my next question, actually.
There's Amish should be against any sort of industrial. Like,
we don't have enough time to dissect the Anabaptist movement. that's
why not. Forest borders.
That's for another podcast.
Oh my God! Everyone should totally listen to Dan Carlin's podcast on the Anabaptists from the Protestant Reformation. It's a history podcast. So good.
Oh, it's my favorite. Yeah, Angels of Doom. Yeah, it's amazing.
I think it is actually the best, the best hardcore history podcast. It's free.
Yeah, I've recommended it to many classes like that I've TA'd in. Like, guys, listen to this. It's amazing.
Is it one of the old ones that's behind the paywall now, or?
That one might not be yet. I think that one might still be available. It's the podcast is called Hardcore History, and it may be. You might have to buy it for $1 if you want it. You have to like he has a website. Okay,
some people can't afford it.
Yeah, I hear you. I recommend it. It would be $1 well spent. It's like 5 hours or something like. It is. It is way cheaper than going to a movie.
It's about a siege of a town in Germany during the Protestant Reformation that turned into a giant, murderous orgy. It's amazing.
It's fucking awesome.
You're way selling it short.
That's my history, man.
Yeah, I am. You're right. Yeah, I was like, it's not the Anabaptist movement during the Protestant Reformation. You mean it's about sex and a cult leader and death and
That's
martyrdom
my fucking
and
history.
Oh, yeah. There's a point where a bunch of people die in a cage up. Anyway, it's amazing. Just listen to it.
Dying in a cage. Interesting.
Diana Cage is probably not amazing, but check out the podcast.
Actually, Hardcore History is a pretty awesome podcast.
Such a good fucking podcast. I have a very serious podcast.
I don't have time to listen to podcasts. I shouldn't add.
Just listen to it when you do other shit. I clean the toilet and I fucking listen to podcasts.
If you trade your crush for Sam Harris for a crush on Dan Carlin.
Oh, I have a crush on both.
I can endorse that switch.
I don't know which one my heart belongs to more.
There's enough love to go around.
Yeah, there is enough of me to
sucks. Dan Carlin's awesome.
You know what? Dan Carlin and Sam Harris interviewed each other on each other's podcast, and they love each other. So poo on you.
There's shared emotions.
What is? For fuck's sakes.
Oh, yeah. So I guess we're coming up on the hour. Where can people find your stuff?
They can find our show. We're on the internet. If you just Google Semi Intellectual Musings, you should just.
It should come up somewhere.
But
that was a very great plug.
Yeah.
It's on the internet.
Come to my house. I will.
Type it into your adding machine, man. You'll find it.
I got Google Maps right here.
I'll come to your house.
Yeah.
Just give your address over the internet. It's fine.
I got to hang out at a sweet spa in the Gatineau Hills in October. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, Spa Nordique?
Yeah.
Spa Nordique.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I think me and Phil are going to go there in the spring. We might do a little spa session there.
You should do a tiny whisper podcast in those places where you can't talk.
Just wearing bathrobes and nothing else.
Yeah. Just breathe in that eucalyptus. Yeah, you should totally.
That seems like a good place to deal with the nudity taboo.
No, you got to wear bathing suits there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Would you go nude?
That's still related.
Why not?
It's why am I restricted to a banana hammock?
Yeah, fair.
I mean, we're all technically nude without just these 2 layers of clothes separating us from the world. So come on, free yourself, free your mind.
It was a very interesting experience for me to go there. It was very interesting.
All right, Phil, why don't you tell the rest of the people how the hell they can reach us?
We're on Twitter at @the_SIM_POD. We have a Facebook page at the Simpod. Our email is semiintellectual@gmail.com. And we have a website with the archives to the show and some additional text bonus material. That is at thesim.podbean.com. And anyone who leaves us a iTunes review, Facebook review, whatever, we're shouting them out, reading them on air every week. That's our new thing now. And every week we try to have indie music artists. So if you are an indie music artist and you want to be featured, send us an email, and we will play your stuff.
That's super sweet.
Awesome. So I guess that'll be it. Thanks for joining us. And as is going to be the running theme with interviews, I'm sorry. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for being with us for an hour.
It was very enlightening.
Yeah, it was
Thank
I think your mic dropped out again.
Mic drop.
Thanks for having us.
All right,
Right
take
on.
care. See you.
And we are going to go to a short ad break here.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
Tired of living in a culture of lies, fake news, and alternative facts? The Pro-Truth Pledge reverses the tide of lies by calling on politicians and everyone else to commit to truth-oriented behaviors. Take the pledge at protruthpledge.org.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Wesley.
We host the Atheist Nomads podcast.
We're godless geeks who take a skeptical look at
politics, religion, science, technology, and history.
We also interview leaders in the atheist, skeptic, and humanist community.
Check us out at atheistnomads.com.
That's atheistnomads.com.
All right, and we are back. So we will be discussing, interviewing our guest from the Student Secular Alliance in Regina as soon as he gets back into the room. But until then, we have a new guest host.
Yay!
Brandon.
Hi.
Welcome to the table, Brandon.
How's it going?
It
goes. First time on a podcast. What do you think so far?
I didn't come into it really knowing what to expect, in all honesty. I've done a little bit of media stuff before, but not like close like this. Just TV interviews for other things.
Well, we're kind of like a way bigger deal than TV.
A little bit.
So much bigger.
Although considerably informal. Like, this is a very informal setting.
Put it in perspective for you. One time,
Fuck no, this is really formal.
This is how calm I am on the podcast. But then I call into to Blue Sky to try and express my opinion.
I'm so sorry I missed that. I heard about it.
It didn't go very well. I was just like, I couldn't get the breath inside my lungs to not have a really high-pitched voice. It was
What was the context in which you were calling Blue Sky?
They were talking about the defunding of chaplains in the province.
Oh,
right.
And they were, talking. It was all like from a religious perspective too. And then I felt like I needed to kind of say, oh, there's the nuns that need to, like NONE nuns that need support in those times too. And we need the secular support as well. So it didn't come out nearly as eloquent as I just said it now.
I have a hard time believing that about you.
You got to believe it.
Okay.
You got to believe it.
Nobody can be perfect all the time.
That's true.
No.
That's true.
Nobody can be eloquent all the time.
Goodness, no.
And I once tried to call into a radio show years ago, and it was nowhere near as easy as sitting in front of a mic and talking to your friends is. So,
yeah, I'm glad this is formatted the way it is, just I feel like it's a little okay to stumble a bit more, of course, rather than just like.
Oh no, we never fuck up either. That's not allowed.
Yeah, it's totally formal, and we're always perfect.
We're actually all wearing tuxedos. Even the girls.
That's right.
There's the one thing I wasn't told.
Yeah, I have a great tie on right now. It's gold and blue.
I'm so sorry.
So fucking formal.
I'm wearing my evening gown right now.
It looks amazing.
Thank you. You're blinded by all the sequins.
I am. It's like I can't even see it.
I know.
We're drinking champagne and eating caviar.
Cory Johnston in a tuxedo. Things nobody will ever see.
Fair enough.
The most you would wear is a tuxedo.
What did you wear to your wedding?
T-shirt with
I wore a suit. I did wear a suit. It was not a tuxedo. Though.
Okay.
It was just it was actually the same suit I wore to my then girlfriend's graduation.
Yeah.
And the same suit I wore to business functions when I was actually involved in.
Was the suit you
weird
had?
things. It was the suit
one.
I had.
You know what? Fair enough. Right? Like, why buy them? Like, well, they're expensive.
Well,
They're fucking expensive.
and I fucking hate wearing collared shirts and suits. Like, I hate dress pants.
No, dress pants are a secret. They're like as comfortable as sweatpants. Like I did learn that. I was like,
I'd actually agree.
I take issue with dress shoes. They're normally just very uncomfortable. For
And
your
they have
toes
no grip.
especially.
They have no grip. They're
You can buy really comfortable dress shoes. You have to pay a lot of money for them. Sorry, people, but it's true.
Pay a lot of money for shoes I will only wear one time, maybe.
I have so many really nice shoes under my desk. I have like 8 pairs of like high heels that are way too expensive each. But I wear them.
So you just rotate. Wow.
Somebody, I was just walking around the other day. Somebody's like, "Were you wearing a different pair of purple shoes earlier this morning?" I'm like, yes. They're like, "You have 2 pairs of purple shoes at work." I'm like, I may have more than 2 pairs of purple shoes.
I like the image of just answering. Yes.
Yes.
That's impressive.
I was really impressed that he noticed.
Actually, I have less shoes than even most people because I have 1 pair of shoes and then I have my gym shoes. That's it.
Those are your work shoes?
Me too.
These are my life shoes. These are everything I do shoes except for my work boots are at work.
Well, that makes another pair.
Those don't really exist when I'm in my life.
They're
That's
not
at work.
conceptual. I could go and handle them if I wanted to.
I like how when you're at work, you're not living. Apparently.
That's right. I don't live when I'm at work, and things that are at work don't exist when I'm living. So
that's separation of church and state, right there.
That's right.
That's like that permanence thing. It's like, do people is this like hide and seek?
Do people exist when they're not in the room?
It's like playing peekaboo with the baby.
Cory goes work. He's like, "Fuck, I'm dead." Oh well.
Adult responsibilities.
Not a good sign for your job if you feel like you're dead when you're at work.
When people when I talk to people about my schedule, I always say like I might as well not even exist for 7 days. So don't bother trying to get a hold of me.
Have you seen my phone?
Right.
It's a flip phone.
It's a flip phone.
It's a flip phone.
I have a bunch of friends who like to schedule stuff on Facebook, and as far as contacting me on Facebook goes, it is a black hole during 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and depending on if I'm not in the house. Because this thing,
most of the time, people are awake.
I used to be like really good at texting on my flip phone like 10 years ago. I was like, okay, I want to C 2, 3 times. Okay, and now I want to A. Okay, 2, 1 time. Okay, yeah, and then I was really like,
yeah.
I still do. I still do that now.
Yeah,
But it's
good for
like,
you.
They know I have this phone. Nobody texts me.
They used to have competitions for texting.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, at the Cornwall they had one.
At the Cornwall.
I didn't
At
do
the
very well.
Cornhole Center.
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
Ow.
You people have special names for your places here in Saskatchewan.
All right.
It's true.
Special.
So we have with us a special guest from the Student Secular Alliance at the U of R, Connor. I don't know if you want your last name out there in the world, but
Connor Donaldson.
there you go. I guess it's a good go.
Welcome to the podcast.
So
I might get killed, but okay.
Okay. Well,
we only have one listener. What's the chance that he's like a serial killer?
He's making fun of us from Georgia.
They were waiting for the code phrase.
Yeah.
Is Lachlan a serial killer? I think we're good.
Okay,
it's fine.
Last I checked, he's not.
I think we're good.
Hi, Lachlan.
So I guess, what is a little bit of your background? How did you come to atheism, and how did you join the Student Secular Alliance?
Well, unlike a lot of atheists I've met, I didn't necessarily deconvert from Christianity. I wasn't really raised to believe in anything specific.
That's the way to go.
What about money?
Maybe money. However, I did have one...
Various social constructs do count, I guess.
I will say the effects of your social circle and the people around you can change that. Like once in grade, I think it was 9, I think that would have been 2011 or so. Remember when they were predicting the rapture that year?
So young.
Yeah.
I remember when they were predicting the rapture.
That was one of the years they were predicting the rapture?
Yes, it was. And one of my classmates, he was just convincing, and he had me very scared for a couple weeks or a month there.
Is that right?
Until my mom, who used to be part of the church but deconverted, she talked me down from it.
Well, good. I'm glad
Good
she
mom.
did that.
That might be my worst experience with religion, or at least the most
scary.
I don't know.
So, what year? What would that have been? Was that Edward Camping or Harold Camping? That's the year that he.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, that was the big one that was in the media all over the place.
It was all over
That might have even been like
they made a movie about it.
Billboards and everything.
It might have been even earlier than 2011, though.
So I'm not even paying attention anymore. I'm still not over you being in grade 9 in 2011. I'm like, I feel so fucking
I'm only
old. It's not
22.
I remember being your age and being like 10 years ago when I was 12, and everyone's like, we fucking hate you, and now I am that person. Like, I mean, 10 years.
I refuse to be that person.
2011, you mean like when I finished my PhD and had a baby? Like, I don't know.
I feel old, but I refuse to be the old person. I refuse.
Are you? Who's older?
You're fun.
What's his face?
I'm older.
Oh, you're the old one then.
Actually, Destin and Renee are still older than I am.
They ain't here, buddy. Dave,
how come we didn't have?
Sorry,
I was like, who's what's his face?
That's you. I was pointing. Sorry.
Unfortunately, it's an auditory medium.
I guess I'm not amazing.
The amazing.
I'm
Dave
bad
gets
with.
just
I think you're
pointed at
amazing,
now.
Dave.
I am bad with names. I'm sorry,
welcome.
Dave.
I'm gonna mix your mic poorly now.
You know what's funny? My father's name is Dave.
You're gonna get-
My son's middle name is Dave, and I still fucking suck.
You're gonna get the Gumby treatment on your channel.
How? Wait, what's the Gumby treatment?
Just kidding.
Let's
Random intermittent muting.
Yeah, I'll stop derailing you.
Don't piss Dave off. We'll find out.
So
how did
Connor,
you? Yeah, go ahead.
continue the conversation.
Sorry, 2011.
That must have been scary when you're
Who
in grade
changed your
9 and
diapers?
your fellow student was convinced that the world was going to end. Was
I
he
don't hold any ill will against him. He was really convinced. He wasn't trying to hurt me in any way.
Right. He
good.
just was concerned for your
It
well-being.
was his convictions,
actually.
and he wanted me to not go to hell.
So yeah,
And
so
at least,
he had.
I at least admire that part.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. That's good.
It is like, I mean, I have a growing empathy for religious people because quite often, like as harming or damaging as their message is, they often believe it.
They often
100%, right? So
it terrifies them even more than us because they actually think that a place where you burn forever exists.
Yeah. So if I believed that,
I would be too.
well, yeah, I'd be trying to convert everybody. Like,
Yeah.
If I believe there's a hell, like I don't want you to go there.
No.
Fuck, that's
Well, it
not
depends
cool.
on religion you're raised in, right? If you're raised in a religion that's very like for example, if you're raised in Islam, they don't really try to convert a lot of people, right? So I can still think you're going to go to hell, but I'm not motivated to try to convert you. That's
because
good.
it wasn't something that you were taught.
You're on
I
your
ain't that
own.
kind of religion.
Right.
If you were taught to do it, you will do it with all your conviction. That's
It's similar. I mean, and
Whatever.
as much as we dislike the pro-lifers or whatever, if you legitimately felt
Speak for yourself.
It depends.
If you legitimately felt that people were murdering children, like, of course you're going to argue with those people about that.
Yeah.
It's just they're misguided. I think they're wrong about where.
And just one thing, never use we when you have a whole table of people that you don't know their opinion.
Well, we.
I'm just.
How do you know I don't like pro-life? How do you know I'm not like BFF with all the pro-lifers, Cory?
Yes, Cory.
I find that that's an educated assumption that is well-founded.
Is it?
I'm sorry, I really like teasing Cory. He's so well. He's
the
so
number of atheist pro-lifers are really low.
There's not very many of them. No.
That's true, eh?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny that the three of you were talking about this though, because like Connor and I, neither of us has spawned.
Right?
There's that. Yes.
Okay, you can be pro-choice and still have spawned.
That is true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I believe in my choice to be able to spawn and other people's ability to make that call for themselves as well.
Actually, I sometimes question the ethics of whether or not I made the right call. Like
spawning.
Yeah, because now they're coming up.
Your kids are jerks. No, I'm kidding. Your kids are great, actually.
No, but I mean, they're in a world now that is the way it is, and I'm not exactly happy about the way it is.
Yeah, but when was it better?
Well, it wasn't, but that doesn't mean it's okay. And plus overpopulation, plus apparently now we're 2 minutes to midnight on the doomsday clock.
Oh, is that what the new announcement said? Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
So, like, we're dramatically close to existential ending of our society.
On some level, your decision to procreate was probably negligible in your personal decision. I mean, if everyone's together, it ends up not being negligible, but yours.
Mm-hmm. Every one person is not a big deal, but all of them together.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, Connor, what made you decide to join the Student Secular Alliance?
Well, over the years since that time in grade 11, I'd become a bit more of a, I would say, staunch atheist, strong in the mindset and the ideas, and I immersed myself in YouTube videos. It was fun.
As long as you're not watching the real awful ones.
I know what you mean. There's some worse ones on there and good ones on YouTube.
There's some real, well, I mean, there's shitlords. There's shitlords on YouTube.
And really, I was on the club page at the beginning of this year, and I thought, a bunch of atheists congregating, I can be in the same room, and I know what everybody is kind of their ideology. I don't always get that, because any random room you're in, you don't know anything about what the other people's beliefs are.
At least if you're in an atheist club, then you can say, hey, at least we're all atheists.
Yeah, it's one of those things you just...
We don't have any fundamental differences in how we see the world.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a cool idea for me.
Yep. No, I can relate to that. When we had our conference in 2016, it was like that. Like, you had a room full of people, and you had speakers speaking about subjects that mattered to you, and everybody kind of got it. It's a nice feeling.
Yes.
I would say it's definitely important as a minority to know that other people exist.
That's right.
Because, I mean...
Yeah, otherwise you feel isolated and trapped.
And as a perceived minority, really, I mean, how many nuns are there? Lots of nuns.
Well, that's
there's
true.
lots of not very religious people out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if they're not like explicitly atheists, like
Yeah.
Those are people I meet, and they're just like,
there are people
you're
that
an
identify.
atheist, I don't know, you never know, and then you're like, okay, well, do you go to church? Do you, no,
Right.
what do you think about these people, like, trying to, I don't know, live by the Bible? That's stupid. Or, like, well, do you use birth control? Yeah. So, you go through the list, right? And you're like,
Right.
well,
then you're kind of the same as me.
It's like, so you're saying the only difference is that you're a little less convinced than I am.
Yeah.
I'm just not, you haven't thought it through is what I'm thinking. You just haven't you haven't taken it to its logical conclusion here. So people love me.
I bet.
I have a feeling that this isn't the Lisa that comes out at work.
No, I don't try to convert people to atheism at work. There's no reason to.
It might not go so well. You might get something to HR or something.
We live and let live at work.
Yeah.
Most jobs are like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
unless
then there's politics.
Oh, geez.
Anyways.
I'm not ready to talk about that right now.
So how about that U of R Student Union's president?
Who's that? Who's
Who
that
knows?
again? I'm sorry,
know.
I don't actually know much about that.
I just know there's an election coming up at the U of R.
I've heard of it. I don't know who the candidates are.
How are you finding the SSA? How are
SSA?
you? Yeah. Are you? Is it something that you're enjoying being a part of? Do you?
It's a nice way to meet people, to meet new people, and I think one thing that's good about this club is it doesn't just constantly bash religion just for the purpose of bashing religion. We actually have talks on different religions, trying to understand them and maybe the pitfalls of them and maybe the more negative parts of them and maybe sometimes the positive parts of them.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
And how it really affects the world.
Right, yeah. No, that sounds really cool. I guess how often do you guys meet?
We don't have a set meeting time. We try to meet maybe once every 2 weeks. Sometimes it goes 3. It's gone a month before. We're all university students, so it's a bit hard for us to sync schedules all the time, but we do our best. And we try to have a theme. Like last time it was Hinduism. The time before that we had some ex-Mormons in, and that was fun. And
That's interesting.
We learned a lot about them.
I bet.
Do you try to actually structure it like a talk, or just are there a social gathering? Because it sounds like you have like a talk structure.
Kind of somewhere in between. Kind of like this, really, but just not on air. You're a bunch of people having a conversation, but then you might go on tangents and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but why not record it and have a listener hear what you said?
Maybe I'll suggest that to Idella.
Yeah, might as well record it and just say, "Hey,
you listening, Idella? Take that into account."
So what's your?
I'm not sure she is.
What's your?
I don't know if she listens or not. But
what's your major?
I should know this.
Take all the time you need.
Theater acting.
Okay.
Nice.
Do you find that, like, in the club, is there like a certain cross section? Is it more people from whatever arts, or is it?
I would say we have people from all different departments of the university.
Nice. Is it a large group?
The people that come to each meeting would be about maybe 20 at the most.
That's
but the amount of people in the and maybe that's a high guess, but the amount of people in the group itself is like 50, maybe more.
That's
50,
pretty
60.
good.
It's getting up there. I hope it grows.
That's pretty good. It's quite tough to. I mean, we're trying to get another conference going.
Yeah.
And it's quite tough to get support. We have maybe 20 donors at this point, and yeah.
Apparently, Brandon's one.
Yep, that's right. And it's just. It seems like we're in a small group, but I think there's more people out there that identify this way as atheists or skeptics or free thinkers or what have you. And it just seems like it's just tough to get them all together.
Get them into one spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I imagine there's a little bit of a cross between ability and motive.
Yes, that's right. There's lots of factors, right?
As we were talking about earlier, religious people generally have days where they get together. It's a bit harder to get people that aren't on the same complete wavelength all the time.
Yeah,
in
right.
one spot.
Exactly.
We can't just pick Sunday mornings because that's half the reason
some
we all
are working on that day. Some people want to sleep in. Some people, I don't know.
Some people have brunch.
Are hungover.
Yeah. And some people are hungover.
Yep.
So at least having come into it, that's why I like the idea of Festivus.
Right.
Festivus for the
just because
rest of
it's it's the idea is it's an open-ended thing. You don't have to be anything.
Right.
And scheduling is always a problem. Just to try to tie everyone together.
Yeah, I suppose in past years, I didn't go to this last one, but in past years there has been quite a good turnout for Festivus. But I suppose.
Yeah, and from my end, I'm trying to factor for parents more.
Oh yeah,
because I've noticed that there's a growing crop of parent atheists.
Right.
or parent skeptics as in our particular case. So it's like, oh yeah, we can all get together on Friday night. Oh wait, babysitters. Oh wait, they have to be up early for hockey tomorrow morning. Oh wait,
some of us are at a podcast.
That's true too. It's weird being I'm not trying to raise an atheist kid, but being an atheist and raising a kid, you're just kind of, I don't want him to be like retarded, like, and not know the world, like not understand that some people believe in God and,
words.
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want him to not be aware of what's out there, right? So,
Right.
So then sometimes there'll be books and there'll be like religious things in the book, and I didn't expect that to happen. So like there's this one where like the book's about like the invisible string and how there's an invisible string of love between you and everyone you know, and even when you're not with your mom, you can pull on your invisible string and she'll feel it, and they love each other. So I tell them that, to my mind, metaphor, and then the kid's like, do I have an invisible string with the cat? Yeah. Do I have an invisible string with my cousin? Yeah. Do I have an invisible string with my uncle who is in heaven? So I'm reading this. Do I have an invisible string with my uncle who is dead? Yeah. And then, and so it just, but then he's like, my friend Susie says she believes in God. Do you believe in God, Mom? I'm like, no. And he's like, I don't either. I'm like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids often are like, well, they've kind of just come up being like, Dad's an atheist, so I'm an atheist.
Exactly.
So it's like I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but
I just tell him, if that's what you like, it's up to you to think about this when you get older and decide then. But he's like, it just sounds dumb to me. I'm like, well, especially if you don't indoctrinate young, I don't know how they're going to end up religious. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but
that's the unfortunate part with like people who are religious and have kids,
right?
Like are like ensuring that their kids believe in that stuff, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Like I mean, I think of my brother-in-law and his family, and they're just so hardcore, like feeding them their faith, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't do anything like that to my son. Like I don't be like you shouldn't believe in God. You shouldn't do this. You should I'm not like. I'm just like I just keep saying, just figure it out.
Yeah, and just being as honest as you can, right?
I'm just trying to teach them critical thinking. That's all.
Yeah. My non-parent advice I gave once was, it's not about making a good garden; it's about making a good gardener.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a good analogy. I agree with that.
And the just to relate to what you're talking about, it reminds me of the idea that the more you know you don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, and my daughter is at a point in her life where she's pretty confident, and she talks about how smart she is. And I said, you know what?
She's so smart.
She is, but I want to foster every time she's like, I'm smart, I know stuff. It's like, well, the most important thing about being smart is that you know that you don't know everything.
Yeah. No, that's a good lesson.
And there's always more to learn. Like that's like, well, I mean, maybe that's the wisdom portion of that.
Yeah.
Just being realistic. But
she is so smart though.
Yeah, but at that age, they know it's so annoying. Like I'm trying to teach my son humility now at this point. Like, cause I'm just like, somebody's like, oh, you're so smart. And he's like, I know. And you're just like, okay, kid, yeah, you're smart, but
be modest.
I'm like, you need to learn something called modesty. Like, what's that? Like, it's when you're okay, but other people are good too. He's like, huh. Like you, Mom, you're smart. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Have you considered stand-up comedy? You'd be good at it.
I'm just telling you stories that my son and I talking in the elevator.
Some of them do,
an entire career off of what Will does.
What comedy is. It's just telling stories.
I feel like there's a lot of parent comedians out there. Former parent comedians.
Many.
Oh, man.
Children are a gold mine.
Jim Gaffigan almost exclusively talks about his kids.
Hot pocket.
Okay, so we didn't have to pull out the game I wanted to play with the headlines off of my phone, but this is where we'll take the music break. For live listeners and patrons, you can enjoy the next few minutes, and then we'll be back. For regular feed subscribers, this is where we'll end the Skeptic Studio. Remember to check out Shift to Reason Radio next week to hear listener feedback, new patrons, iTunes reviews, and our new closing segment. This week's music: Until the World Goes Cold by Trivium, Eye of Chaos by Once Human, and War is Killing Us All by Righteous Vendetta, which I'm not entirely sure isn't a religious band, but Gumby wanted it, so there you go.
Since he's not here, we're going to do that.
Yeah, bet.
It's a great nickname.
You can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, the Utah Outcasts, Bassett, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, Rob, and Stephanie. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can join us every second week when we broadcast live on brainstormradio.net. Our next show is on February 16th, and our guest will be Gleb Tsipursky, author of the Truth Seeker's Handbook and founder of the Pro-Truth Pledge. Hopefully I can get those episodes out before we leave for Vegas. Thanks to Matt and Phil for joining us. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff all over at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, and share the show, and spread the word. For live listeners, stick around for our after show. You can go to brainstormafterhours.com and listen to the bonus content before it goes patron only. Thanks for listening, and remember, the